I loved my wife because she was always so warm. Not just emotionally, but physically. Leah ran hot. She'd complain when I turned the thermostat down, and would snuggle against me in bed like a personal heating pad. This warm conviction was why, when she turned cold, I accepted the nightmare. I understood instantly that the thing that returned was not my wife. It was a perfect copy, yet everything that was genuinely her had vanished. This horror show started because of cliché decisions. For years, Leah and I discussed escaping the sprawl of Los Angeles. It was always just talk until suddenly the barriers crumbled. I landed a lucrative, stable coding contract allowing full-time freelancing, and Leah inherited a completely unexpected, and much-needed, bank account along with a dilapidated two-room log cabin tucked deep inside the Cascade Mountains of Oregon. The noise of the city, the weight of the routine, the exhausting traffic, all of it was suddenly easy to leave behind. "Look at this," she'd said one evening, laptop balanced precariously on her knees, the screen glow illuminating a frantic kind of joy in her eyes. "It's perfect. This wasn't even on the old maps." The image wasn't of a trendy vacation spot. It was a rough-hewn log structure nestled right at the edge of a deep, ancient patch of forested wilderness. "The woods were calling you," I teased, and she grinned. She had a profound, almost spiritual connection to the untamed, always claiming that deep nature held something bigger than us, yet strangely intimate. Maybe I needed to believe that too. We liquidated everything and moved to the edge of the world. Our new home was an anachronism. Solid cedar beams, a deep front porch sagging slightly from 100 years of mountain rain, and a severe quiet broken only by the sound of our feet on the floorboards. The paved roads ended half a mile from the cabin, turning into an unmaintained trail that eventually led to nothing but deep forest. The air was frigid, even in late August, and the trees pressed in on all sides like a dark, sleeping audience waiting for a performance. Leah loved it immediately. She spent the first night on the porch, wrapped tightly in an old Hudson's Bay blanket, sipping tea. What she loved most was something named Hallowed Lake, a glacier-fed body of deep, black water an old-timer told her was only a 10-minute hike away. The reason, she claimed, she had fallen for the listing. But something about the quiet, its chilling, comprehensive silence, immediately terrified me. This wasn't the natural silence of a wilderness. I'm from the city, but even I know the forest sounds, the snap of dry foliage, the hum of insects, the wind whistling through the canopy. Here, the leaves hung heavy, motionless in the muggy, high-altitude air. There was no wind. No birds. Not even the dry buzz of a cicada, just a flat, profound zero. The dogs confirmed my fear. Miles, our huge, gentle Labrador, had excitedly explored the yard as soon as he got out of the truck, nose to the dirt, tail operating like an out-of-control pendulum. But the moment he trotted within 10 feet of the moss-covered line of trees leading to the main trail, he stopped. His ears dropped, his tail slowly tucked itself deep between his legs, and an unsettling, low whine caught in his throat. He backed away from the forest line, slowly, carefully, his movements indicating he had just realized he was standing too close to a tiger. "What's wrong, boy?" Leah coaxed. Miles answered with a barely audible throaty whimper and retreated immediately beneath the deepest corner of the porch, treating the wilderness edge like a live wire. "He'll get used to it," Leah said, but she turned back to the woods, and I didn't like the new quality of focus in her eyes. We hadn't been there a week when the real terror began. Leah needed to find her great hallowed lake. "I'll be fine, Gabe," she promised, lacing up her heavy leather boots, a tiny tripod camera and bag already slung over her shoulder. "I'll trace the waterline down to the main trail. I just need to scout the topography." The protective instinct in my gut twisted cold. The woods felt ominous, hungry. But I'd never told Leah what she could or couldn't do. I kissed her cheek and told her to check in before the sun dipped. I waited. By 4 p.m., I started compulsively checking the map on my laptop. By 7 p.m., early sundown in the high valley, I was standing on the porch, every muscle in my body vibrating with cold dread, staring at the growing darkness of the tree line. Something was fundamentally wrong. Those woods were tight, but not that big. She had the best GPS watch I could buy. I grabbed my flashlight and keys, ready to scream her name into the oppressive silence. That's when I saw her. She came out of the woods. I knew immediately that something essential was broken. She moved too slowly, almost reluctantly, as if walking was an unwelcome, distant thought. Her skin looked pale, almost damp, like she'd been out in the frost all night, yet her hairline glistened with sweat. I looked from her matted hair to her boots. They were absolutely saturated, dark with wetness, as if she had submerged them recently. There had been no rain, no dew, none in the forecast for days. "Leah! Where the hell were you? I was about to call search and rescue," I stammered, crossing the dirt towards her. She looked at me, and that's when I saw the second break. Her eyes were registering my presence, the shock, the anger, but they held absolutely zero trace of her usual panic, exhaustion, or apology. Her face was flat, placid, like calm water. I think I just got turned around," she murmured. Her voice sounded thin, distant, like a voice on a badly receiving phone line. She sounded dazed, disconnected, like she knew the words she was supposed to say, but all feeling had been excised from the performance. She stepped past me with methodical slowness, not meeting my subsequent attempts at asking more questions, and went directly into the house. I hesitated, frozen at the threshold, convinced something had followed her home. The full weight of the terror began that night. First, there was Miles. He absolutely refused to go near her. As Leah stood in the kitchen refilling the water pitcher, Miles was standing a few feet away, tail tucked tight, letting loose the lowest, darkest rumbling growl I had ever heard from him. A primal sound I associated with the threat of a starving bear, not a lab looking at his best friend. "What's wrong with him?" Leah asked blandly, turning slowly from the pitcher. I didn't have an answer. Miles, instead of running, backed away, perfectly rigid, his entire focus fixated not on her, but just behind her head, as if waiting for the perfect moment to dodge a counterattack. He backed clean under the heaviest, oldest oak table and stayed there. Leah, unconcerned, simply turned back to the task. Then, the subtle physical anomalies began. Leah had always been graceful, quick, effortless in her movements. Now, she moved like she was testing her own body. One morning, making toast, she lifted the butter knife, moved to smear the jam, and then simply froze, mid-motion. Her breathing didn't catch. Her expression didn't change. Her hand hovered in stasis, her fingers tense, slightly curled. 2 seconds, 5 seconds, an eternity in her mid-40s, before she completed the stroke with a new, agonizing, slow precision, as if she rebooted the movement instruction set and followed it too carefully. But the real break happened 2 days after her return. We were at the kitchen table. Leah was scrolling through a technical article on her phone, absently eating yogurt. I took a steady sip of my coffee, and somewhere between the slow swallow and the metallic aftertaste, I noticed it. Her eyes were fixed absolutely, immovably on the center of her screen. She wasn't blinking. My breath hitched. I leaned forward, forcing myself to discount the fatigue and stress. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I had blinked at the wrong time. I waited. Half a minute. 60 seconds. Still open. The surface of her eyes, usually a bright, clear gray, was now glassy, perfect. The only evidence an eye should close was a thin, nearly imperceptible film, a wet glisten, that would sweep across the iris every so often, lubricating the surface without the heavy finality of a human blink. "Did you sleep okay, honey?" I managed to ask, trying to keep my voice light, casual. She looked up at me, slowly, smoothly, too smoothly, and blinked, finally, a heavy, mechanical draw. "Yes, why?" "No reason," I lied, my stomach twisting. My greatest source of comfort, her warmth, had been undermined. Her skin was now permanently cold, not just a cool temperature, but like deep freezer metal. I had touched her hand the day before. It was like grasping a stone left out in the snow all night. The avoidance became a constant. Miles wouldn't go within 6 feet of her. But he also wouldn't look at her. It was a definitive refusal of acknowledgement. One evening, she stood by the window, gazing out at the dark trees. Miles sat on the floor a few feet away, absolutely still. When I called his name, he snapped his head toward me. But when he looked back, he stared directly at the spot next to her, or just over her head, as if her physical mass produced a visual void. If Miles doesn't see her, I thought, the ice flooding my chest, what the hell is holding her shape together right now? I eventually cracked. I needed human advice, normal advice, an outsider's touch to pull me out of the tightening fear. I went into the minuscule nearby mountain town and talked myself into a desperate, cryptic confession to the only person I thought might know the territory, the old man/ranger who ran the general store. He was wiry, thin, with eyes that had seen too many decades of bad mountain weather. "My wife went hiking a few days ago," I choked out, a fake laugh splitting in my throat. "She got turned around in your woods. I think she got sick when she came back." The old man froze. He didn't ask a single follow-up question. His eyes pinned me down. "You should be careful up there," he muttered, sliding my change back across the counter. "Something tends to transfer in those places. Something stays behind." "What does that mean?" I whispered, my ears ringing with dread. He shook his head, his eyes flicking nervously toward the front door, the real door she wasn't supposed to have walked through. Then he leaned in, lowering his voice to a dry parchment scrape. "If she came back, she wasn't supposed to. Don't let us sleep." My world swam. I quit running. I went home and forced myself into late-night research on my laptop, frantically seeking any kind of town record or forgotten folklore. I found nothing until I finally stumbled into the archives of an old conspiracy blog, the kind I routinely dismissed. An article, barely readable, over 30 years old. I clicked on it, knowing I had just gone past the final barrier of sanity. "Local woman returns after 3 years missing. Husband claims it's not her. The eyes don't blink." The woman, Margaret Delaney, had vanished less than a mile from my current position. She walked back a perfect, cold, emotionless statue. The tragic punchline. Vastly improved her husband's life, but was not Margaret. Eventually vanished again, this time for good. But it was a separate note in the margin that nearly paralyzed me. The husband had described catching her reflection in a tarnished mirror, and seeing it crying for help. My soul screamed a denial that evaporated into the cold, empty air. That night, I knew precisely where to go. I woke to an absolute, unyielding stillness, not just absence of sound, but an oppressive, physical weight. Leah wasn't in bed. I sat up, pulse hammering. She was standing perfectly still by the closed bedroom window, her perfect stillness a profound violation of all anatomy. I crept closer, and she didn't react. She wasn't breathing. My chest ached with agonizing confusion. I saw her reflection instantly, clearly, in the full-length mirror next to the closet. A huge mistake in decoration that now laid bare the complete, unadulterated truth. The reflection was there. The perfect copy, yet its eyes were shut, weeping. Tears traced perfect, agonizing paths down the cheek of the reflection, while the Leah standing only a few inches away held an unnervingly blank, unmoving facade. "I can't blink." The voice of the body, not the reflection, whispered, strained and dry. The terror was overwhelming, spiritual. "If I blink, I forget. Forget the memory. I'll go back." The thing in the woods had taken her body for its peace, its stillness, its escape from the chaos of human memory and emotional warmth. But her true essence was locked inside the perfect copy, fighting to maintain her boundary, her sense of self, even the simple mechanics of human life. She was losing to exhaustion. Her shoulders were trembling violently, the body failing beneath the immense strain of remaining human. "I can't stay," the body gasped, the tears streaming from the reflection hardening into fear. They were winning. I grabbed her shoulders, my body shaking with fierce, protective fury. "We'll leave. Stop fighting. Just rest. We'll figure it." "I don't want to go back," she screamed, her mechanical facade finally shattered, her genuine, panicked soul forcing one last cry out. Her body fell into my arms, the marble cold and heavy. Her fingers clawed desperately at my flannel shirt, anchoring herself to my reality. Her eyelids fluttered, a tiny, agonizing muscle spasm finally winning the week-long war. I pleaded for the return of the life I knew, holding tightly to the sheer weight of her failing physiology. But my love was not strong enough to stop the fundamental law that governed the peace of hallowed lake. She blinked. It was slow, deep, terrifyingly final. The body in my arms instantly convulsed with a profound, final jerk. I looked to the mirror, and the reflection, the frightened, weeping ghost of my true wife, was utterly gone. The true Leah had passed through the barrier. It had achieved its final goal. The memory was fully consumed, the copy perfected, the transaction complete. Instead of tears, a dark, viscous, slime-like trail began to bead at the outer corner of the perfect copy's eye. She twisted, impossibly cold and strong, out of my embrace. She slowly turned into the full glow of the moonlight. Her smile, when it came, was no longer dazed or perfect. It was subtly, devastatingly different. Her pupils were an impossible vertical obsidian slit, the definitive mark of a high-altitude predator. "We like the house, Gabe," the voice echoed, newly confident and deep. "It's so perfectly quiet. We need your resources, too. Show us which vehicle you will drive for our next supply run." My survival instinct was the only thing that remained. I turned, not screaming, and instinctively threw the porch's nearest antique vase straight through the plate glass window, shattering the horrifying reflection of true ownership. I snatched Miles, who was still curled in terror on the floor, and I ran, never stopping. The next day, no one believed me. I told versions, straining the truth past the breaking point. Mental breakdown, abusive land dispute, all of which failed. But what they couldn't see was the truth hidden under the porch. A small, dark feather from a snowy owl had fallen from Miles' fur. The local legend says it's not a feather that brings wisdom. It's the sign that the Watcher has chosen you as its permanent subject. I left my world behind, but I never left my cage. I know that thing walks the silent roads of the world in the perfect, cold skin of my wife, perpetually unblinking, and its serene control has replaced all of my restless, beautiful chaos.